Thank you. I'm Len Gobeil for Barnstable Today. The Barnstable Planning Board met Monday evening and heard from representatives of Peck's Boatyard in Marston's Mills about the replacement of a wind turbine that is on that property. Last year, the blades on the permitted turbine broke off, and now the owners want the wind turbine to go back into work, into operation. The discussion before the board took place, and it turned to insurance. A question was raised by board member Ray Lang.
One question that I have, Mr. Chair. In terms of the co-ownership, is that straight down the middle so that you're going to each own half of the windmill?
Yes.
And there won't be any argument as to which, if a blade falls off, it belongs to the other guy or something like that. In other words, it's straight down the middle, and if there's any concern by the town or any default, two people will have to share that. Am I correct?
I would assume that the town would be all the more protected to have two entities connected to the turbine, because if there was a liability issue or something like that, you would now have two different entities that would be liable. No, the turbine is not divided in any sort of geographical or structural way. It's co-owned. The entire turbine is co-owned. There's no arrangement of any sort to say the blades are somebody's and the tower is somebody else's.
So the two signers of a permit are both liable for whatever occurs?
Not an attorney, but I would assume that would be the case, yeah.
And a butter of the property continued with the theme of the question of liability and insurance.
My concern again tonight is really that of general liability. So I just heard you people speak to the fact of a co-ownership of a tower. And if I were two insurance companies, insurance company A and B, I can assure you that one or the other is going to take the hit on this and not both of them. It seems a little conflicted to think that there's a co-ownership of a tower, but somebody is directly responsible for, putting up the tower, buying the wind turbine, and so forth. And somebody is out of it. I mean, the fact that there are two companies, usually one or the other is going to step up to the plate. And the other thing that I haven't heard you address tonight is where the town or the town attorneys or so forth want to sort of rest their case in terms of the liability. That is the entire liability package. Are you talking about $5 million, $10 million? I mean, I see as much concern here, not for the fact that there could be a death, let's say, if there was this machine self-destructed, but if someone was maimed or injured. And that's even worse in a tort situation than a death. So I just don't know where you people are going to pinpoint the amount of liability that you want to carry in this situation.
Thank you.
Can I, Mr. Chair, sir,
Sure.
Can I ask one
Mr.
question?
Hayden?
Can I ask you one question? My point was liability too. I mean, that's what I was trying to get at in terms of two owners or two people. You gave a new clue here as to how an insurance company might address a partnership like this. Are you saying to us that this partnership, if it exists or is formed, would be a separate company that would have to be liable as a separate company at this site? I mean, would that be something that you would see, or is that something different?
I don't know. You're talking to a layperson, not an attorney here, but I certainly see that unless one company was going to underwrite the two of them unilaterally, that's about the only way. So, but they asked, but conversely, they asked two separate and distinct entities. You have the Peck Boatyard. Yeah. You have the Katuitt Solar. So you're mixing metaphors here. And all of a sudden you're going to say, okay, we're going to get insurance from Peck, we're going to get insurance from Solar. And then I think only one person comes ultimately responsible for something that happens to the turbine. I don't see how they're going to, I think one's going to say, we'll pay, but the other guy says, I'm not going to pay. And then you go back and forth.
That's what I don't think we should allow. We don't want that, that's for sure. I think, Mr. Chair, we're going to need to get a legal opinion on the best way to set up this or to address it before we act.
and I think you have not addressed yet, what are in any other situations in the town or in surrounding towns, what is the liability limit going to be? Are you going to, I mean, somebody has me do a public job and they say, okay,
Yeah.
we want you to see your limit of liability is $5 million for this particular job. And they set the limit. So if you don't have any guidelines, you're going to have to establish them or have somebody else help you establish what the guidelines are going to be.
Thank you.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. It's an excellent point. So at this point, I would just ask the applicant maybe to throw some ideas around. You guys work in this business. You may have seen something like this before. And then we can come back and talk about that along with the engineering analysis at the next hearing. Mr. Hayden makes a very good point that at some point somebody has to share joint and severable liability for the activity there. And maybe it's through naming the town of Barnstable as the additional insured or otherwise. But I think if with your experience, you guys could probably look through a couple of other things you've done and maybe find a creative solution to that. Because that is foremost here, and probably the biggest reason we're having this hearing tonight is to ensure the safety of the public and that they're protected should something happen.
Turning now to our sister program called Barnstable This Morning, our guest on Tuesday was State Senator Dan Wolf. Our discussion started with comments about not having any opponents in his re-election campaign. How's it feel to be in an election and not having to run?
Well, it allows me to focus on the job that I was elected to do. I guess that's the best way to put it. I have pretty strong feelings that a two-year term, given the complexities of the issues that we are facing and trying to deal with, simply isn't enough. I mean, the fact is you legislate for a year and then you start looking at the next election, and I don't think it serves anybody well. So in this case, I guess I feel lucky because I can continue to focus on legislation, doing the job both in district and getting ready for next session, which hopefully will be a session that we get a lot done.
Well, we can start a statewide process, if you would like, to make the Senate a 6-year term as they do in the United States Senate. That would be good.
Yeah, here's what I would advocate, actually. I would advocate that both the reps and the senators get 4-year terms in Massachusetts. We all get 2-year terms now, so the reps and the senators are on 2-year cycle. I think if everybody had a 4-year term, it would allow the electorate to see what their representatives do, but not feel like they're trapped with them for 6 years. So I think 4 years is a good amount of time. I don't know how we ever get there. It seems like it's always been like this, and it is too short, just speaking from personal experience. You don't get a lot done in 2 years.
No, you don't. Generally, as you do in congressional elections, you run for a 2-year term. You spend a year doing the actual work, and then you spend another year going back in the district trying to get your votes in line.
Well, and I've had federal legislators tell me that they spend 50% of their time on the telephone asking for money, which, again, I mean, we could do hours on what's wrong with our election laws right now. But the fact that our legislators run as often as they do, but then in addition to that, the fact that they have to spend so much time raising money really interferes with us doing the people's work. And, people are generally dissatisfied with the legislature, both especially on the federal level, but I think probably on a state level. And yet I think that a lot of that has to do with the structural constraints that are put on us relative to the frequency of elections and also how our elections are conducted. So I'm a strong advocate for looking at election reform all over the place.
For Barnstable Today, I'm Len Gobiel.